foyer. Have a good time in the foyer. Mess around throwing rhymes in the foyer. Ain't no place like the foyer. Let you talking about the foyer. And I mean 254 in the foyer. Do I know you?
Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Max. So let's talk. First of all, most, I want to give a shout out to all of the content providers out there. You small content providers who aren't really necessarily worried about chasing the algorithm and being caught up in the algorithm and going viral and things of that nature. And you do content that is important to you. You do content that will edify and build up your life as well as others. I understand being on here as a content provider that we want to blow up. We want to have 1,000 views, and we want to have 20,000, 50,000 views, and hundreds of thousands of subscribers. That's ultimately the end goal of this, right? So, but there are some of us out here who have a conviction on ourselves to bring forth stories that not everybody is jumping on. There's some of us out here who pick and choose stories based on what we're going through or what we see or what our perception of a thing is, and it's not always the popular story. So I want to give a shout out to all of you content providers who are not out here chasing algorithms, man. Much respect to you guys. Keep on doing what you're doing because it's necessary and needed. Now that I got that out of the way, I want to talk about Miss Oprah Winfrey because here recently, Rose McGowan, who originally spoke out and started this whole Me Too movement, she spoke out against Oprah Winfrey, who spoke very highly. If you remember during that award ceremony where they were calling out some of the sexual assault that was taking place and the sexual harassment that was taking place in the industry, Oprah Winfrey took it upon herself to make herself a voice for the women, so to speak. Oprah's always taken on that. She's always taken on that title of being the voice for the women. And for the past, I say 3 or 4 decades, Oprah has spoken for a large amount of women in the United States and all across the world. And she's went out and she's done some great things. She opened up schools in Africa, which we'll get to in a little bit. But there's been some great strides on Oprah's part to make it seem as though she's for the women, she's for women's rights, she's for women liberation, women power, all of those things. But if you start to dig deep down in it, there's some inconsistencies with what Oprah's been doing that caused Rose McGowan as just one person to call her out on her stuff. So let's go back a little bit with Oprah Winfrey. First and foremost, when Harvey Weinstein was revealed to be the monster that he was, Oprah Winfrey was a good friend of Harvey Weinstein. She spoke highly of Harvey Weinstein. You will see her a lot of times in pictures with Harvey Weinstein where she's having some endearing moments with this man. And it's hard to believe that for all of these years that she did not know what Harvey Weinstein was. She once made a statement trying to distance herself from Harvey Weinstein. And she said, oh, what I can tell you about Harvey Weinstein is that he was a bully. And that when you get Harvey on the phone, you're like, oh, here we go. And she downplayed it as though she didn't really know Harvey Weinstein like that. She just knew of his reputation and tried to distance herself from the whole entire thing, which to me was the first sign of something being very fishy. Because for me, with Oprah Winfrey, whenever it came to R. Kelly, whenever it came to Michael Jackson, whenever it came to Russell Simmons, it seems like whenever it came to any man of color, Oprah Winfrey was relentless in her attacks on these men. And a couple of these guys, like Russell Simmons and Michael Jackson, she considered friends. She said that they were friends. She was all lovey-dovey, and every time she would speak very highly of these guys. As soon as Michael Jackson was dead, Oprah Winfrey attacked this man, and she went and found those accusers of his from back in the day and she did a whole story on Neverland and the I believe it was the housekeeper. She came out with some stories as well, and Oprah highlighted this and put this on display, and it didn't come to anything because it comes to find out that the two accusers that she interviewed, both of them had holes in their stories, and both of them had nothing that could hold up in court, and they were still trying to sue Michael Jackson's. They were still trying to sue his estate for millions and millions of dollars for an alleged abuse that they had absolutely no proof of, and their story fell through. Now, is that to say that it didn't happen? No, I'm not even going to go as far as to say that because I don't want to discredit somebody who possibly did go through what they went through because I don't really, really believe Michael Jackson. Because as I've stated before, if you've been molested and you've been through sexual assault, sometimes the person who was assaulted will do things that were done to them. And that's why we have this cycle of pedophilia. So I can't sit here and clearly say that Michael Jackson didn't do anything to anybody. I never do that. But what I will say is that Oprah Winfrey took no shortcuts in trying to demonize and destroy the legacy of Michael Jackson, but she didn't lift a finger to go after Harvey Weinstein, who she knew very well and tried to distance herself from when everything came out. There's also a spiritual guru that she was connected to. She had him on her show. She promoted his books and things of this nature. But this man was found guilty. Well, I don't know if he was found guilty, but he was charged with about 19 counts of sexual assault against young girls. And Oprah tight-lipped about it. We haven't heard anything from Oprah about this incident. So why is it that her lips are so loose and liberal when it comes to black men in a position of influence, but when it's the white men that's in a position of influence, Oprah is tight-lipped and she have nothing to say? That is my question, and this is why I feel like Oprah Winfrey has used the Me Too movement to capitalize on. That's what she's always capitalized on, is the hardships of women. And she's used this to build a multi-billion dollar empire. If you look at one of her first movies, which was The Color Purple, it was all about how women were being sexually abused and used and all of these things, only to come out on the top in the end. Same thing with the movie Beloved. She's always taken this stance of she stands for women and she's the heroine for women. So why is it that all of these young girls who attended these schools that she had in Africa were being sold into child, basically sex trafficking? These girls were prostituted out about by the house mother of these schools that Oprah owns in Africa. So Oprah had absolutely no idea that this stuff was going on. Oprah, that's the story that was said. She didn't know that this was going on. She was appalled that something like this could happen in a school of hers, but she had nothing in place to make sure that things like this didn't happen. This was the whole purpose for the school, so that these girls would have a safe place to go in order to gain education. And you mean to tell me that you were just the financier and you never went and checked to see if everything was moving straight? Because this has your name on it after all, right? So if something has your name and your backing and you're vouching on it, aren't you going to go to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do so that you won't be caught up in the negative light behind all of the things that took place? But that didn't happen. And I don't know what the follow-up of this story is either. So my question again is, what is Oprah's end game? What is her goal? Is her goal to make as much money as she can off of the hardships of women and making it seem like she's an advocate? Because when it comes down to the what story was it that it was the Russell Simmons story that she pulled out of, because she said she felt like the She felt like the people who were claiming to be assaulted did not have enough evidence, and it would not look good on her if it came back that Russell didn't do these things. So why did she let up at the end on that? This is where Rose McGowan started to criticize her, because she said she let the victims down. Now, did she let the victims down, or did she see that she couldn't get a story out of this and she couldn't capitalize off of this as much, and she decided to pull out because she knew that it would ruin her credibility if it was to come out that these women were lying? And I don't see anything going as far as Russell Simmons. Uh, no cases, no court. We haven't heard anything as far as litigation concerning Russell Simmons and sexual assault. Now, Sec- Russell has said some things that were very questionable to me, because he stated that, back in the day he did have some relationships and he had some wild times out there, which can blur the lines of what people consider sexual harassment or sexual assault and things of that nature. So I want people to understand that sexual harassment and sexual assault are two different things, because we like to just take the sexual part and just skip everything else, and all of a sudden we've got a sexual predator, when in actuality sexual harassment is something totally different. Sexual harassment is saying something out of the way to a person that makes them feel uncomfortable concerning their body, their appearance, something like that. And we can't demonize people for being stupid or being ignorant. That's all that is ignorance. And but that does not make them a sexual predator. And we have to be careful about that, because that's a very, very strong thing to call someone. And once that label is placed on somebody, it has some very, very, very bad ramifications comes along with it. So I'm not going to be so quick to call somebody a sexual predator. And there's also a double standard in this, because there are a lot of men who have been placed in positions of they've been placed in positions of compromise by women. They've been pushed up on by women. So is that considered sexual harassment too? If a woman comes up and states how my physique looks or how I look as a person, and I do not welcome those advances, can I say then that she sexually harassed me? That's the way it's supposed to be. But in our society, we don't look at it that way. It's like men are supposed to be the strong. We're supposed to be the epitome of strength. And so for us to make ourselves out to be a victim is not considered a feat of strength. That's considered weakness. You're considered weak if you're a victim. But I'm going to tell you like this: any victim of any type of assault is strong, especially if you come out and put voice to what took place to you, because now you're giving voice to other people who were definitely afraid to come out and say something about what took place to them. And so I commend anybody who's willing to come out and speak about what happened to them, because I know for myself how hard it was for me to come out and speak about what happened to me. So salute to everybody who's been victimized, and my prayers are with you and for you. But Miss Oprah Winfrey, you have spent the last 30 to 40 years capitalizing off of the hardships and the pain of women. You've made billions of dollars off of it, and I don't really see you putting back into it what you've gotten out of it. And so we're going to need Oprah Winfrey to sit down somewhere. I remember not to, well, what was it, last year, maybe a year or two ago, whenever she was doing a seminar, and she was speaking about Michael Jackson, and not even a couple seconds after she said his name, she tripped and she fell and she rolled, and it was a meme for the ages, because many people said that that was Michael Jackson getting some get back on Oprah for putting dirt on his name after he died. And you have to be a really low person to attack somebody after their death. Um, The same type of mentality went into R. Kelly. R. Kelly is definitely guilty of the things that he's done, but the way that he was attacked by Gayle King, uh, yeah, they definitely make a living off of capitalizing off of the hardships of women. This is what Gayle and this is what Oprah do, and they're great at it. But now they're starting to lose their influence. Oprah no longer has the ear of the women of the United States like she used to back in the day. They don't hold her in as high regard as they used to. She's taken some hits as far as her person, not her personality, but she's taken some hits as far as her character goes. Her character is in question now. So anytime we hear something from Oprah, it's not an ironclad, solid, done deal thing like it used to be. Now we have questions because of her questionable character. So I'm just putting it out there, man. This is your boy D Mac. I feel like if you're going to speak out for sexual abuse, then you need to be all the way in. You can't straddle the fence and you can't just speak out for the people that you don't like. You can't be quiet for your friends. It's an all the way across the board thing, Oprah. Okay, the same energy that you had towards Russell Simmons and Michael Jackson and all of these guys, you have to have that same energy towards Harvey Weinstein and the little spiritual guru friend of yours and whoever else is attached to you that is involved in this stuff, because this pedophilia ring is not a small time thing. It's not something that just happens among nobodies and B-list and C-list celebrities. No, this is a worldwide global thing that is indulged in by the elite. It's been brought out and put in your face. So America, the question is, what are you going to do about it? We can't leave it up to people like Oprah, who is in that industry and who has an incentive to guard those guys. Okay, we have to do this. We need to quit looking to other people to do what we're supposed to be doing. Our influence will carry far more than Oprah Winfrey, because at some point Oprah Winfrey is going to be compromised. At some point Oprah Winfrey is not going to be willing to give up what she's built over these years in order to tell the truth. And so it's left up to us as the people. Stop looking to these stars and these celebrities to be your black leaders or leaders, period. That's not their job. That's not their position. Their position is to influence you on a certain agenda that they're told to push to you. So understand that. Let's take them off of this pedestal and let's start to do the work ourselves. This is your boy D Mac. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.